So, you want to play Dead by Daylight. This is the perfect video for you. The first step is don't play. No, I'm just kidding. Alright, I'll tell you. Okay, I'm just kidding. Alright, okay, let's go. Dead by Daylight is a multiplayer 4 vs 1 horror game where one player takes on the role of a savage killer, and the other 4 players play as survivors, trying to escape the killer and avoid being caught and killed. Basically, there is 1 killer and 4 survivors, and the goal of the game as survivor is to complete generators and escape, and for killer is to kill all the survivors. So now that we know the goal of the game, how do we actually play? Let's start off with how to find generators. Most generators will be attached to a pole that has a blinking light on top. Look for the blinking lights and you will find a generator. Most of the gens spawn outside the map or in the center. To give you an idea of how the generators spawn on the map, I made this beautiful drawing of a layout example. So as you can see, the generators are placed all over the map. A lot of them will be on the sides of the map, and then there sometimes will be a few in the center. There will also be walls called jungle gyms, buildings, trees, and rocks that you can maneuver around in chases or use to hide. Once you find a generator, you will have something called skill checks. When repairing generators, you will get a skill check that you have to land on. There will be an audio cue before it appears. There are 2 different skill checks, a great skill check and a good skill check. A great skill check gives more progression and points. A good skill check still gives you points, but not as much as a great skill check. It doesn't give the generator more progression, but it keeps it from stopping. If you don't land your skill check, you will blow up your generator, and it will give the notification to the killer. I completed all the generators, where do I go? Well, the first place you can go to is an exit gate. After completing 5 generators, the exit gates will appear in 2 different locations. They will always spawn on the sides of the map. In the map, 7 generators will spawn, but only 5 are required to escape. The second place you can go to is the hatch. The hatch is another escape route for survivors. Depending on the survivors alive or gens completed, determines when the hatch will spawn or open. So you need to complete 1 more gen for every survivor alive. So for example, if there are 4 survivors alive, you need to complete 5 generators. 3 survivors, 4 generators, 2 survivors, 3 generators, and if there's 1 survivor, the hatch spawns with any amount of generators completed. If the killer closes the hatch, you have to open an exit gate. If you bring a key, or you find a key during the trial, you can use the key on the hatch to escape with the other survivors. If any of you are wondering what the hatch sounds like, here's the audio for it. What is the endgame? The endgame happens when a survivor opens an exit gate or the killer closes the hatch. There is basically a timer that if you don't escape in time, you will die. This was implemented so that after the exit gates were opened, survivors didn't sit in the world wasting the killer's time. It's so that the game can end and everybody can go next. What are totems? Totems are skull-like shrines placed all over the map. There are 5 of them in total. Totems can be cleansed for points or to make a killer perk inactive. There are dull totems and hex totems. Dull totems aren't lit up, and hex totems are lit up. Hexes are active killer perks that should be destroyed. All of them are bad. There is 1 killer perk that is a trap perk, so be careful when cleansing. Even if you see dull totems, you should cleanse them anyway, as there is a perk that if you don't cleanse all the totems, it will activate. What are blood points? These are blood points. Blood points are your character's progression currency. They are used to upgrade the characters you own by making purchases in the Blood Web. Most in-game actions trigger scoring events that are converted into blood points at the end of the match. Certain offerings, perks, and events may modify the amount of blood points you receive. In the loadout, you could use offerings to make it so that you can get more blood points during your trial. So for example, Escape Cake will give you 100% bonus blood points in all categories, and this is only for you. There are offerings where you can do it for other survivors. The more you play, the more blood points you'll receive, as well as how many activities you do in the game. What are emblems? Here are the match blood points earned. These are the emblems you will receive throughout your trial. In this case, I got 6,770 objectives. These are the actual emblems. Your online survivor rank. If you hover over these, you can see your stats on what you did during the game. So for Lightbringer, I got gold. Lightbringer represents your participation in the generator repairs. The higher the percentage of overall generator repair participation, the higher the quality of this emblem. Successfully cleansing both dull and hex totems and opening exit gates also grants points towards this emblem. All generator repair progress other survivors make while you are in a chase with a killer will also contribute a small amount of points towards this emblem. Survival. Unbroken, I got gold. Unbroken represents your ability to survive. Escaping a trial without being downed results in an iridescent quality, while being downed one or more times results in a gold quality. If you die in a trial, this emblem quality will be based on the amount of time you were alive. However, the highest quality you will receive in this manner is silver. You can also receive points by wiggling off the killer's grasp. Altruism. For Benevolent, I received gold. Benevolent represents how altruistic you and your teammates are during the trial. The first 2 times each survivor is hooked, all survivors lose points. Safely unhooking them returns the points back to all survivors that is still remaining in the match, and the survivor performing the action also receives bonus points. An unsafe hook rescue results in a loss of points for the survivor performing the action. Other altruistic actions, such as healing, making a killer drop a survivor, and taking a hit while a survivor is being carried, also grants points. The part where they're mentioning an unsafe hook rescue is another term for farming. Farming is when a survivor goes up to a hooked survivor and they unhook the person while the killer is around. This can count as farming because the killer can tunnel that person and kill them. So then it would be your fault as the survivor that's unhooking that person, because in that situation, if a killer is camping, what you would do is do generators. If the killer is not camping, just wait for the killer to leave, then safely unhook them. Boldness. For Evader, I got bronze. Evader represents your ability to stay hidden from the killer or be able to win chases against them. You win points by remaining unnoticed by the killer. The closer you are, the higher the points. You also win points if you escape a chase without getting hit. The longer the chase, the higher the points. Every 15 seconds, you secure your points. However, you will only receive half of the points if you lose the chase. Successful pallet stuns also grant bonus points towards this emblem. You can obtain boldness by pallet stuns, being in chases, and hiding in the basement. Now for this, the killer really didn't chase me all match, so that's why my points were really low. And then I also lost a chase because I got hit, and then I just never got healed during the game. In this match, I got 24,367 points, and that's a total that'll go into my blood point bank, which is my total blood points. What are pips and how do I rank up? So if you want to know where your rank is, you will go to the top right of your screen. And as you can see, it says I am rank 8 survivor. The ranks go from rank 20 to rank 1, being rank 1 the highest, rank 20 the lowest. Now you're probably wondering, what are those diamond looking things right there? So those are pips. You need a certain amount of pips during your trial to rank up to the next rank. So in order to get to rank 7, I need 3 more pips. How do you get pips though? During your trial, depending on how many points you get, you'll receive an overall score on the performance you did. And based off that score, you will either lose a pip, safety pip, receive 1 pip, or double pip. In this case, I safety pipped because I didn't do enough to pip, but I also didn't do bad enough to not pip. This red bar represents your overall score during the trial. If your red bar is below this black pip, it means you did not earn a pip. If your red bar is between the black pip and the red pip, it means you safety pipped. If your bar reaches the first red pip, or it goes in between the 2 pips, it means you got 1 pip. If your bar reaches the second pip, it means you double pipped. Double pipping means you almost got a perfect to near perfect score. What are iridescent shards? This is your overall level and your devotion. And these are your shards. Iridescent shards are your player's progression currency. These may be used to purchase teachable perks, characters, and customization items in the store. They are acquired by gaining experience points and increasing your player level account. What are Teachables? If you go inside your blood web, you will see that when you are level 30, 35, and 40, you will obtain Teachables. And this is what a Teachable looks like. It'll be an orange perk that shows up in your blood web. Basically what it means, if you go to character info, you will see Teachable perks. And these Teachable perks are for a specific survivor. So what that means is that these 3 perks in particular belong to Detective Tab. And if you want to use them on other survivors, you have to upgrade them. So when you reach level 30, you can get this Teachable. And then when you level up your other survivors, you will see this Teachable in your blood web, as well as for level 35 and level 40. And the same thing goes for killers. Killers have their own Teachable perks, and if you upgrade them, you can have them on other killers. What is prestiging and what does it do? What prestiging does is if you go in your blood web and you try to prestige, you'll get a warning saying this: increase your prestige level. Increasing your blood web prestige level has the following effects: resets the progression of this character to level 1. Unlock a prestige reward for this character. Lose all items, add-ons, perks, and offerings for this character. Slightly increases the odds of getting better items on the blood web. Teachable perks will stay available to all the characters. And then if you want to prestige, you click OK, but for now I'm going to say cancel because I'm going to keep her like this. I have my Kate Prestige 3, so I'll show you what that cosmetic looks like. So basically when you prestige, you'll get bloody clothing for your character. Prestige 1 will give you the bloody top, Prestige 2 will give you the bloody bottoms, and Prestige 3 will give you the bloody head. Those are pretty much the basics. Now I will be telling you tips and tricks on how to improve your gameplay and become a better player. Did you know that the killer's in first person? Yeah. Survivors are in third person, so that means the killer's point of view is much harder to see than survivor, because he can't see the sides or behind him, he can only see in front of him. Here's a good example of what I'm talking about.
Oh, come here. Where? Oh, what have you done? Where have you go? Where'd he go?
Yeah, I was sitting by your bed I was like this the entire time. Having that in mind, you should use that to your advantage to mind game the killer. And from killer perspective, what you would have to do is use your ears. Listen very carefully for running, breathing, grass making sounds, or any sort of sound that could lead you to a survivor. There are 3 different types of vaulting: a fast vault, a medium vault, and a slow vault. Slow vaults make no sound but are very slow. Fast vaults are fast, they're loud, and they also give a notification to the killer. A medium vault is basically a slow vault but faster, but it's not a fast vault. This usually happens when you try to vault through a window at the wrong angle. The best way to use a slow vault is if you're not in a chase and the killer doesn't know where you are, and you need to hide. The best way to use a fast or medium vault is if you're in a chase and you need to make distance between you and the killer. If you're in a chase and you vault through the window too many times, it will be blocked off. The killer can still vault through the window, but you can't. After a while, it will disappear. A survivor that knows how to loop the killer is a good survivor. It wastes the killer's time, and it allows your team to be able to do generators. As killer, you have to manage the generators and the survivors at the same time. If a survivor is looping you and you can't catch up to them, or you're having a hard time hitting them or downing them, then it's probably time to go to some generators and get the survivors doing the generators instead. The whole goal of a survivor looping you is to waste your time, so why waste your own time if you can't get them? But if you're confident that you'll catch up to them and end up downing them at some point, then you should probably keep chasing them. But if the survivor's good and you just want to down them because they're good and you just hate them and you're mad and you're tilted, then you probably shouldn't keep following them. That's what they're trying to do, is make you mad so you keep following them and still waste your time. So when you run, you'll obviously use WASD, and you'll hold W to move forward. But what you want to do, or get in the habit of, is looking around you while running. As you can see in these clips of me looping the killer, I always look behind me and around me, and I maneuver around the obstacles, not running into them. This is called tracking. Tracking is the most helpful thing in the game. While looping, you could track the killer, but also make sure you're not crashing into anything. The key to this is using S. What you'll be doing is your character will be running towards your screen, but you'll still be looking behind yourself. So for example, you'll be using WAD, W to move forward, A and D to move side to side. But then, if the killer's coming towards you and you're trying to run the opposite way, what you can do to still keep track of the killer is instead use SAD. So then you're running away from the killer, but you're also still looking at the killer. This is probably my favorite advice and the most helpful. This will help you play so much better and be more aware of what's going on around you. When you're looping the killer, try to stay as close to the objects as much as possible and don't run away from them. Remember, you want to keep as much distance as you can away from the killer. If you're running away from whatever you're looping around and then you go back to it, that just gives him more time to get closer to you. When in chases, try not to waste pallets. Remember, they're limited and they don't respawn. If you're being chased and you run through a pallet and the killer swings at you, don't drop the pallet on his face for the points. If he hits you, you get movement speed, so just run away and leave the pallet for somebody else or in a future chase. If you think you could drop the pallet before the killer swings at you or hits you, drop the pallet before he does. If you're in a chase with the killer, do not wait at the pallet and then drop it on the killer's face. That's probably the worst thing you can do. You want to use the pallet to your advantage and try and loop the killer. Do not waste the pallets. You want to keep them up for as long as possible. Another piece of advice that is really important is space out generators. If you don't space out the generators and you do all of them in a row, then that means the last 3 generators will be on one side of the map, and it's easier for the killer to camp them. If you come across a generator and complete it, the next generator you see, skip it, and then do the next one after that. Doing that, the generators will be spaced out, and the killer won't be able to camp all the generators on one side of the map. When doing generators, just keep in mind that if the killer gets too close to you and you don't get off the generator, he can grab you off, and then you have to wiggle free from his grasp. As a survivor, you should always take hits for other survivors if they need it, and you should also body block the killer if the other survivor's being tunneled or they just need to be saved from a hit. For example, if you haven't even been hooked yet and the other survivor's on death hook, you should probably start body blocking for them and make the killer go after you instead. This isn't a tip or trick, but this might help you understand how the hook system works. Basically, there are 3 different hooks. There's the first hook, the second hook, and the third hook. The first hook, you just are hooked, and that's it. The second hook is your struggle state, and the third hook is your dead hook. During your first hook, you'll be asked if you want to attempt escape. Do not do it. Only attempt to unhook yourself if no one else is going to save you. On your first hook, if you reach struggle state and you're unhooked and get hooked again, you will die. Before you reach struggle state, if you're unhooked, you will get another chance to be hooked. So always try to save your survivors before they reach struggle state. If you go AFK, you will eventually have crows over your head that alert the killer where you are. So you probably shouldn't go AFK. This also happens if you move in a small area. If you're playing killer, I would recommend that you don't tunnel and face camp people just because you lose a lot of points doing it and you're also wasting your time. You should be trying to kill all the survivors, hooking them as many times as you can, and collecting as many points as you can. If you're just tunneling one person and you're face camping them, that means you're not getting any other points than the other survivors. Which leads to my next point. Just because you've escaped or you kill other survivors doesn't mean you've won. In my opinion, winning is getting pips. If you don't pip or you safety pip, you technically haven't won. On survivor side, if you do everything in the game but still die, you can still pip or even double pip. On killer side, if you do everything in the game, like hooking all their survivors, downing them all, and doing a bunch of other stuff, you can definitely pip or double pip even without killing the survivors. The reason I didn't mention anything about perks is because they're all kind of self-explanatory. You can read all the perks in your character loadout. As well, if you play Kill Your Friends, you get all the perks for free so you can test them out on your own. And those are all the tips and tricks I have. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you all if you made it to the end. If you have any more questions of anything I didn't answer, you can comment below and I'll respond to them. But anyways, I hope you all had a wonderful day and keep having wonderful days. And I will see you all next time. Bye bye!
Oh, I'm coming to get you. Oh,
Oh my
I'm here. Oh.
Please, Mr. Freeze! Don't
Oh.
Stop it!
Oh.
Stop it! Don't
No.
do that!
Oh. She. Where'd he go? Where? Okay. Where'd you go? You slink off. I will find. I'm going to catch. Come here.
No! No!
Oh!
No!
Oh!
Do
I
not!
go this way!
No! Don't go
This
that
way.
way, please!
Where do you go?
No! I'm not the
Where do you go?
way, please!
You've gone somewhere.
No!
Oh.
No! Oh!
Stay here. I've gotten you. Wait, what have you done? I will get you. Oh!
No!
I've smack.
I'm over here, silly!
Oh no, what have you done? What have you done?
Oh,
Oh,
you
I
ding
missed
dong,
you.
You ding dong!
Oh, goodness.
It's Kurt. Oh! Oh! No! Oh! I saw that! Oh! Ah! Oh! You think you're funny?
Oh.
Oh shit! Oh my god! Oh my god! No!
What?
Get bamboozled! Oh!
I wonder if anyone is around. Come on, just blow up. It's not blowing up. Oh,
What the heck was
Oh.
that? I gotta go check that out.
they
Alright.
don't know I'm here. Oh. Wait, let's keep doing. Oh, I don't. Wait, let's keep doing it. I don't even see. Oh, I don't even see where he is. Oh, it's right there. Oh, oh, I got to go. I got to go. Oh,
I got to go!
oh, I'm here.
He'll never
I'm.
see this coming. He'll never see this coming.
Oh, where'd he go? Where'd they go? Are they in here? Hello?
No, I'm
Hello?
not in here. I'm in the jungle.
I'm knocking.
behind you. I'm behind you. I'm over there. Over there.
Oh, over here?
Yes.
Over here? Up here?
Yes, sir.
In three.
Over there.
Okay. Go this way then. How do I get
Wait,
around?
Come back to locker. Come back to locker.
Who is this? Knock knock. Oh. What? What? Oh. Oh. Where? Where'd they go? Oh.
Nowhere. I'm nowhere. I'm in heaven.
Okay. Okay. I guess this way. Where?
Wait, the
Where'd it
boy.
go? Oh. Where'd
Alright.
it go?
Alright. That was fun.
Oh wait, how are you back
I
here?
was hiding behind the tree.
What?
I came out the locker, and when you were over there, I was like hiding here, and then I walked around the tree like this.
I didn't even tell. I couldn't even tell.